I'm currently on a road trip across Western Australia, a part of Australia that Aussies love and foreign tourists seem to have forgotten about. Starting from Perth, I experienced the beauty of WA's south, like sunrises on mountain summits and beautiful beaches, before making my way up north to drive through the Pinnacle Desert, camp in dunes and do bushwalks in the Kalbarri National Park. And now I drive up even further to take in some more natural wonders that WA has to offer. Good morning, it's another day in Western Australia, and after having a great night's sleep in this gravel pit just down the road, we came back to Shell Beach, which is a beach that doesn't really offer any sand, but instead just tiny shells, but like entire shells. And also it has about the calmest water at the ocean that I've seen so far. Like there's no waves, it's like a lake. So we'll be going down there in a second, but that's the cove or the bay or whatever you want to call it, and yeah, the water is super calm. We're just gonna have breakfast and then see what else we can do. So this is the way how you eat your muesli without having too many flies in your mouth. Okay, so why is this beach called Shell Beach? Well, obviously there's lots of shells like this one. They are quite tiny, and apart from a couple of bigger ones and apart from a couple of different ones, it is one very shell that grows here, and that is the either it's Fragum cockle or it's Fragum cockle. It is one type of shell that can survive in this extremely salty water. So this is one of the saltiest ocean water patches in the world. And actually flying the drone over that ocean, you can see there is nothing in it. There is no life, there's no fish, there is no plant, there's nothing really apart from these shells, and they grow here. They can only grow because they release a specific kind of acid into their cells, and that prevents them from getting through all the salt, getting the water sucked out of their cells. Because of the osmosis that happens in your cells would kind of suck out all the water and leave the salt. This is how they survive, but they cannot grow big. And like most of these shells, they're about 1 centimeter, and that is the average that grows here on that beach. But usually they would grow about this big. But here, because the water is so salty, they can't do it. They grow really small. We left Shell Beach and made our way further up the peninsula towards the town of Denham. Next place is Eagle Bluff, which is apparently just a lookout because you're not allowed to go down to the beach because it's a rehabilitation area. Oh, that looks nice. While the area around Denham has a lot to offer, like Shark Bay, Monkey Mia and the Francois Perron National Park, free campsites are nowhere near those places, and some of the good spots are only accessible with a proper four-wheel drive car. For us, sadly, this meant we left the Shark Bay Peninsula after only one day, missing out of some of the highlights like the dolphin feeding at Monkey Mia. We set up camp near the highway for the night and moved to Coral Bay the next day, which is around 300 kilometers north of Denham. The waters around Coral Bay and the Ningaloo Reef are pristine and crystal clear, so of course we had to go for some snorkeling. If you're not on a backpacker's budget, you can book plenty of diving, snorkeling and whale shark tours at the Ningaloo Reef. However, just like with Denham, if you want to stay somewhere for free, you either have to wild camp illegally or go back to the highway, which we did, making our trip to Coral Bay equally short. So after that hanging out day in Coral Bay, we're on the way to Exmouth and we're stopping on a little free campsite along the way. But we stopped here because A, sunset is beautiful, and what is cool is there is termite mounds dotted around everywhere. There's one here, which is probably hard to see because of the sun. So there is a massive termite mound. And that was for the last, like let's say 40, 50 kilometers, same thing. Just looks really cool. Yeah, there's a really kind of nice end to this nice day that we had. Bit of a chill out day. Got the solar panel charged and all these things. But now it's time to get to the rest stop and have some dinner because we're super hungry, because we keep forgetting eating lunch or anything for lunch. So let's get back into the car and off to our next rest stop and also get rid of all the flies.
Leaving the termite mounds behind, we headed further north with an overnight stop at the highway before entering into the peninsula at the Exmouth Gulf, which is known to be one of the best spots for whale shark watching on the entire planet.
So we are at Charles Knife Canyon, which is about half an hour or so drive from Exmouth, on the way to Exmouth, and Charles Knife Canyon delivers. Look at this, that is not too shabby, eh? Ooh, sweet. Jesus. That is cool.
In terms of the camera not picking up the scale of this place properly.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It's mad big.
Yeah.
This is my test gear.
Yeah.
And this is the test incoming.
The drive up to Charles Knife Canyon is pretty easy and you don't really need a four-wheel drive to do it. And with being 13 kilometers long and 20 kilometers wide, Charles Knife Canyon offers incredible views and is a welcome change of scenery to the many hours of rather dull highway driving. However, as days are short this time of year, we headed straight onto another landmark around Exmouth, the wreck of the SS Mildura, which sank in 1907 and since has become a popular spot for both divers and history enthusiasts. Water was a little choppy, but we still managed to see a whole bunch of turtles riding the waves around the wreck.
We are at the Flaming Head Lighthouse, which was, I suppose, one of the earliest or the only lighthouse or so ever erected here in Exmouth, and Exmouth being very, very young as well, so only founded in the 60s. And they said that from the lighthouse, if whale season is on, you can actually do perfect whale watching here. And if you look around, it makes sense why, because you can see for ages. And yeah, there's a couple of like black spots in the water here and there, and then you ultimately go and question, could there be a whale just sticking their tail or head out of the water or whatever. But yeah, that is really nice. And yeah, it gives you a pretty insane color change, and like this is the ocean and then this is the rest of Exmouth.
We treated ourselves to some of the young history of Exmouth before heading back to town, as we had actually booked a hostel for the night, since the camping situation around Exmouth was just as difficult as the Denham and Coral Bay area.
Welcome to another day in Western Australia. We're still on the peninsula where Exmouth is located, a place that is absolutely famous for having one of the biggest and most well kind of curated and saved or whatever populations of whale sharks. But we're not going to do the whale shark diving because we don't have the time. What we're doing instead today is we're going snorkeling, even though we probably chose about the worst conditions for snorkeling in the last week or so. It's very cloudy, very overcast, there's not a lot of light. We're still going to one of the most famous snorkeling spots here, which is Turquoise Bay, and see if this is any good and if we'll be able to see anything really. And after that, well, we get the drone up for sure, because on the satellite pictures Turquoise Bay looks insane, so it might be really good for drone shots. We go into the water, do the snorkeling, and after that probably check out another snorkel spot that is on the way.
and then go all the way back because we have to do a whole lot of driving today still, but I think I'll explain that later. So let's head to Turquoise Bay and see what this is like. Turquoise Bay offered insane colors even on an overcast day like we had. However, the sea was a little choppy again, and the lack of light made the snorkeling less exciting than it could have been with a lot of sunlight. While we were in Exmouth, I was told that I could start a job in Broome much earlier than expected, which meant we essentially only had a few days to get to do all the way to Broome. So we didn't lose any time and got back on the road again. So we're on the road again. We left the peninsula of Exmouth and we're going inland to Karijini National Park. We're a bit restrained on time because there's a lot of things happening right now. I'm going to be starting a job very soon in Broome, which is a whole lot of driving still from Karijini to get there, and I'll need to be there in a couple of days. It's a whole long drive to Karijini today. We're not even full on getting there. We're only doing about 2/3 or maybe 3/4 or so of the way. Then get into Karijini tomorrow, do a really cool hike which is called the Mount Bruce Walk, which apparently offers great views once you're at the top of Mount Bruce. And then there's a couple of really nice gorges that we want to check out. So we'll be staying there for a day most likely, maybe even a bit longer before we go down again to the coast to Port Hedland, and then from there we do a whole long stretch up to Broome, and then there's an entire new chapter starting. So I'm really excited for this, but first I'm really excited to get to Karijini and see how incredible it really is. So I guess see you there. Next morning on the way to Karijini National Park. Now we are going to go to the Hancock Gorge. Alright, next one is Mount Bruce Sunset Walk. Okay, this is becoming a race against the clock now. So it is another morning. It's about 5:20. We're doing the same hike that we did yesterday again, but this time the full one to see the sunrise. I have finally made it to Broome.